everyone and welcome to Extreme Graphics Tech. My name is Angelo and today we are going to be checking the Steam hardware survey for March 2023. And some of you who are who always come to my channel may be asking, why are you checking this now? Well, I normally don't check this every month to make a video, but this month is particularly special because we have a new GPU king or queen, depending how you want to consider it, on the Steam hardware survey, and that is none other than the RTX 3060. This is a very big model. That was the only thing I could get my hands on when it came out. As you can see, it's a over-spec one. It's super big. It's really big. It's crazy big, okay? This is as big as a 3090 at the time. I don't know, they over-spec this thing. Anyway, you can get them for a lot smaller and also cheaper. This was sort of an expensive model, especially at the time. But anyway, the point is that we have a new king on the GPU space on Steam surveys, and it's the RTX 3060. For many years, the GTX 1060 was the king of the Steam survey. Then it was surpassed by the 1650. And now we have the RTX 3060 on top, which is surprising because the GTX 1060 also surpassed the 1650. We're going to see that in a second. The whole point of this video is to check the RTX 3060 in 2023 and see how good it is with, you know, the newest game, and does it deserve to be in this position? Why is this card there? Why is not an AMD equivalent? So what's going on? Okay, so we are going to have some benchmarks and then my conclusions as usual, but first let's talk about the Steam hardware survey. Okay people, so here we are on the Steam hardware survey for 2023, and so let's see quickly what's going on here. As we can see here, the most popular OS is still Windows with 97.75% of the total of hardware surveyed on the Steam, okay? Obviously not every single machine that is on Steam is surveyed. This is optional, but it gives you, I think, a very good idea in general, okay? So being Windows 10, 73.95% of those 97%, and it has gone up in the last month by 11.62%. So it seems like a lot of people are not digging Windows 11. That went down 9.65%, and is only using 22. Is only part of 22% of the whole total. But I think that's okay. I like Windows 11, but your mild may vary, as people say. And then we see Linux is only 0.84%, and these account for Steam Decks, obviously. And Arch Linux is the distribution used by the Steam Deck, and is only like 0.09% of the machine. Remember, we're talking millions of computers registered on the Steam, okay? So, well, Still. So the most popular RAM configuration is 16 gigabytes, which is a total of 56.92%, and after that is 32 megabytes, which is 22.41%. And I will say nowadays 32 is probably the sweet spot. 16 is still very good. All my games are still tested with 16 and I had no issues whatsoever. But I think, you know, if you want just to breathe and become 32 gigabyte is good. I have actually 64 gigabytes, so I'm part of that 0.09%. And the reason is because I also do a lot of editing. I use my RAM as a VRAM as a cache, and so on, so I need that lot of RAM. And actually, if I could, I will go to 128. But as you can see, more than 70% of people are on 16 gigabytes and up. There is mostly just 12% of people still using 8 gigabytes. Also for Intel CPU speed, well, we see the CPU is around 2.7 to 2.99. This I don't think is relevant, to be honest. It doesn't tell much, but what does it tell is that the most used CPUs now is 6 CPU core. As you can see here, is 45.78% of the total, and it went up 12.36% in the last month. That means that is basically the base. As you can see, even though 4 CPUs is still the second most used CPUs, we are talking here about 20%. Instead, 8 CPUs is 18.45% of the total. That means that more than around 70% of people use 6 CPUs or more. That's a lot of people with good CPUs there, so that's good. So developers can now start using those CPU more and not be held back by old CPU technology. Okay. Well, and as you can see here, video card description, the new king is the RTX 3060 with 10.44% of the total. And as you can see here, we're talking that it went up 6% just in the last month. Then we have the 2060 that is still growing, and then the 1060 in third. It's amazing to see that card in third after all these years. So that card is already legendary. So then we see that every single card in here, the 3070, I find funny that the 3070 is more popular than the 3060 Ti, to be honest. I think the 3060 Ti is better value, and because they both have the same amount of VRAM, so there is really no reason for having in that sense, money-wise talking, okay? But at the end, that's not the point. Anyway, as you can see, all the top, I would say top 20, maybe top 15, I don't know, is Nvidia cards. And this is where I'm saying it's a little bit weird to find these in the sense that there are many other options that should be higher, but from, for example, AMD that are not here. And actually, the first AMD Radeon graphic we see is only 1.20%, and that's probably just APUs, okay? That's integrated graphic cards. We don't see a discrete graphic card until the AMD Radeon RX 580 that went down. Actually, I thought it was going to go up because of all the mining and stuff, the resellers, but it's not. So the thing that bothers me is to see that the RDNA 2, the highest RDNA 2 card in here is the RX 6700 XT, which I'm not quite sure why is the reason. I don't know if people just, think AMD is bad or whatever, because AMD used to have some driver issues, but I think they are very good now, and the RX 6700 XT is a very good card for the price. Even the 6600, I think they should be higher, but I think the problem AMD is facing is that probably they are not easy to find on many different countries, and they got expensive over there. While Nvidia has like a better distribution system and maybe better price in those countries, because we know that an RX 6700 XT is better than a 3060, for example, and they are sort of the same price in many countries. Here in the UK, you can find the RX 6650 for the same price as an RTX 3060. Oh my god. It's so hard to roll the R's with so many R's and stuff in here. So that's a little bit weird. But so anyway, the new king, as we said, is the RTX 3060. As you can see here, also right now the standard for memory on VRAM is 8 GB. So please, developer, as you can see here, most people, you can see here that more than 50, around 60% of people has 8 gigs of VRAM or less. So stop making unoptimized games, please, because it makes no sense. You see, these two, 6, 8, and 6 account for more than 50% of the total. More than 50%. So who are you making games for? Only 16% has 12 gig, and those with 24 like me for the RTX 4090 is less than 1%. So what are you doing? We're making games that don't run very well on 8 GB card. Come on, start making games, optimized game for this GPUs, guys. So the primary resolution and the biggest one is still 1080p. We see here is 64%. 1440p is growing, is 20%, but as you can see, 4K is still very far away, and it actually came down to 0.95%, and it's still only 1.78%. But as you can see here, 1080p is still king. A lot of people, rocking those esport games and wanting a lot of frames to have the maximum amount of wins. So So now that we have seen this, we are going to be checking some benchmarks for the RTX 3060, and then I come back with my conclusions. And as usual, one of the first game I always test is Dying Light 2, because I honestly think it's a very good game, graphically talking, technically talking, so I always like to test with this one. And this game has received a lot of updates and is running quite good right now. And you can see here the RTX 3060 playing with the RT preset and DLSS balance at 1440p. Obviously, you can always play with the settings and maybe lower the resolution and up the ray tracing, or remove ray tracing and have more frames. That's up to you. I'm just choosing a point in between where I think we are taking everything that the GPU can give us. And this case is quite good results from my point of view. And here we see the Elden Ring game. Unfortunately, I'm very bad at this game, so I'm just at the beginning. And this was the hardest part to run for some reason. I was at the beginning where it's a little bit more open. There was no problems. I was at 60 fixed. There is no ray tracing. I'm not using the ray tracing. This is an already badly optimized game. However, you can see here we're running around 50 to 60. If you, of course, if you want perfect 60 FPS, you should lower the settings a little bit or lower the resolution. However, you are going to get 60 most of the times in certain areas, so it will depend on your tolerance to go from 50 to 60, because it rarely goes down under 50. It does, but it's not that common, so you will be between 50 and 60 in this game. Now, Howard's Legacy is a game that surprised me. We recently did the review here in the channel, the analysis, and I couldn't get too much out of the RTX 3060, but obviously the latest patch has done something, because now we can play this at 1440p high with ray tracing in high and using DLSS balance, and the game is running absolutely flawless. As you can see here, the game is running very, very good, and I like what I'm seeing now, because it's a game that used to be much heavier, and I can see any downgrade or anything. I tested different areas, Hogsmeade, outside, and even inside the castle, just for the reflection and stuff to come in and see how it look. Yeah, this car, I don't know if it's the car or the games that are getting better and better, but honestly, it's running quite good. No, I wasn't expecting this. Now, the Spider-Man Miles Morales, another one that is running much better than I was anticipating. So this game now runs at 1440p with high RT high and DLSS quality, and you can see here the results are really, really good. You can see those RT reflections working, and it looks beautiful and spectacular, and everything seems to be running the way it should, and we are always over 60 FPS. We even hit 70, 80 FPS from time to time, so you are going to have a great experience with this car, and this is showing one of the better results from my point of view when combining with ray tracing and performance. So this is one of the reasons people may want a car like the RTX 3060, is because ray tracing is awesome. Now, Returnal is a game that I was not expecting this. Honestly, this is much higher quality than PlayStation 5, and this is just crazy. I had to recheck many times that I was actually running at 4K, and that's what it is, 4K epic quality with DLSS quality. I don't know, I check and recheck, and maybe somebody going to tell me that I missed something. I don't know. This game is running over 60 FPS at 4K. This is just, I wasn't expecting this, because it, you know, especially at epic quality settings that include ray tracing and things like. So yeah, I don't know, I was surprised of the result, because this is running much better than the PlayStation 5. So maybe the team had time to optimize the code. I'm not sure what's going on here, guys. I'm surprised. Now, Resident Evil 4, we did the review just like a week and a half ago, so there is no more changes here. There is been no patch to address any issues. So this game runs basically the same I was showing you before, which is 1440p max settings, except for lowering the shadows to high, and the hair strand is off. So this way you get almost a 60 FPS, perfect 60 FPS. I also had to lower the texture just to avoid the VRAM problem until they fix it. So it's a 3 GB, because with RT it consumes a lot of VRAM. But as you can see, this is still running quite good, quite flawless, no issues whatsoever, and I think the RTX 3060 is still serving you very well in this new title. Another game I pushed to the extreme was Forza Horizon 5, and in this case I'm running a 4K high RTX and DLSS quality, and you can see those frames flying. One of the reasons I didn't go up in quality is because there is like a lot of performance loss when you go from high to ultra. But I think if you go to 1440p, you're probably going to play this game at 60 FPS, not at ultra, but at extreme quality. So even if you want that. But I wanted to push it just to see if we could. And you know, we are playing 4K, and that's 100 frames we just hit a second ago. So that's like crazy performance for this car, and well, obviously for this game, which is very well optimized. Now, another game that surprised me because I wasn't expecting this is A Plague Tale Requiem. As you can see, we are always over around 70 FPS, and we are at 1440p high with ray tracing off and DLSS balance. And the reason I'm surprised is because in this area, even with a 4090 from time to time, I could get under 60 FPS. And there is no console at the moment that can run this game at 60 FPS. So you have an RTX 3060, you are going to be able to play this game at 60 as long as your CPU is good enough. By the way, sorry for the max FPS being shown. I always forget to reset that, and that's normally what you get when you are like in menus or stuff like that. So that's why you're getting so high max FPS. But you see the average is around 78, which is what we get. This is another weird game that, you know, I just push for the sake of it, and that's Doom Eternal, because this game is running at 4K, Ultra Nightmare, ray tracing on with DLSS quality, and look at those numbers, guys. Yeah, the average and max in there are bad, are wrong, because I didn't reset them again, but as you can see, we are going always over 60 FPS, and we get even to hit 98 FPS from time to time, which is, you know, this game runs so well on so many hardware. It's just so good. Yeah, you can get under 60 from a little bit, but I still think, you know, I'm pushing this more than most people will, because probably most people will play at 1080p or 1440p with a 3060. So this is a very good show. The last game I tested, because it's always being asked for, everyone says test that, is Red Dead Redemption 2. And well, this game I just put the 1440p resolution, no FSR, no DLSS, I'm balance preset, I'm using DirectX 12, not Vulkan, and as you can see, we get over 70 FPS, an average of 75, so that's absolutely awesome for this car, where once again, there is no console at the moment that can play this at 60 FPS, because there is no next gen patch. However, on PC, you can enjoy this game at 60 FPS with at 3060 at 1440p. So yeah, 4K do get close, but so not okay, guys. I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised by the results. It's either because games are getting more optimized, or the drivers for the RTX 3060 are getting better. I'm not quite sure, or is the inclusion of more DLSS in more titles that are making the RTX 3060 looks very good. We were able to push some games to 4K. That's quite good, even if I'm using DLSS. So those games were also running ray tracing, and you know I am a fan of ray tracing, even though many people say, oh, the only way to play a ray tracing game is with a 4090 and stuff, and I hate that, because it's not true. You just have to be realistic with your expectations, and even being realistic, I was really pleasantly surprised with the RT performance of this little car, and I think that's one of the reasons why this car is being sold so well, because I think people want to experience and want to use all the eye candy they can, and they want to put ray tracing, and this car is giving them that option. We know, and this maybe one of the reasons AMD is not selling that well, and I wish it was selling more, because it deserves to be higher on that list. Maybe not top, but the 67 and the 6600 XT are excellent GPUs that should be higher in the list. However, it's true that when you activate ray tracing, they get destroyed. So if you want, and you're part of that, you know, ray tracing people that want the eye candy but still want, you know, good frame, then you can have an RTX 3060, use some DLSS, some realistic expectations, some nice resolutions, and you're going to get good results. So I don't know if the 3060 deserves the first, because it's still a kind of pricey GPU, considering you can get it for around $320. but you know, it has 12 gigs of VRAM, which is very good, I have to say. In that, it's probably one of the best when it comes to VRAM, considering the Nvidia situation. We know there are cards on the AMD side that got less with the same or more RAM, but it's still, as you saw, 12 is not the standard, it's 8. So having 4 more gigs of VRAM is good. The ray tracing performance is good, the LSS is great, and many of those games really surprised me, because when, for example, I tested Hogwarts Legacy when it came out, I had the video in the channel, I couldn't really get that much out of the 3060, and I think I got more this time, obviously because of the patches the game has received over time, and many of those games have been optimized little by little. Unfortunately, it seems that you should not buy any more games when they come out. Just wait 6 months and then you buy the game, because they always seem to come out a little bit broken. But well, you know, those are the results. I think the 3060 is a fantastic GPU. I think it should be cheaper, to be honest, all things considered, because you can get probably an ARC 750 or an ARC 7070 and an AMD 6700 XT for cheaper. But the point is that it will depend also on what you want to do. Obviously, this support NVIDIA broadcast, this has other use that is not just gaming, so it will give you a little bit of everything. And I think the 3060, well, until 4060 comes and actually deserves the spot, because all rumors point to 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and I don't think that's at this point we should accept that. So I think the 3060 will keep selling. Well, I don't know if they're still making them, but I will guess so, because obviously at the moment Nvidia doesn't have anything to cover for this sort of 300 price point. So the 3060 seems like a nice and reasonable entry point. However, before closing, I will say this. To me, it's important that each one of you consider other options in your country, okay? Don't go for Nvidia just because. Just try to see if AMD in your country has a better price, and if you can get a 6650 XT or a 6700 XT that also comes with 12 GB of RAM, for less price. I know, depending on the distribution, Nvidia is cheaper in some countries, not here in the UK. They're about the same price, and depending on what your needs are, if you don't care about ray tracing, I will go for a 6650 XT or a 6700 XT. So there you have options, also different prices. So don't go for only what is popular. Just go with what is more sensitive and intelligent according to your budget. And I understand this changes country to country. Also, sometimes you have nothing else to buy and that's the only thing. Well, of course, go for it, enjoy it, and game on. Okay, so I'm going to end the video here. So what do you guys think of the 3060? That you think is aging well? It's a good car? Will you buy one? What are you rocking right now, and where are you going to do? Thank you, and see you on the next video.